welcome to a new episode of our weekly program on the hot seat. Today we have a very special guest who's going to be discussing with us further about the current economic status in Egypt. Now, everybody knows that Egypt is currently going through a very difficult, harsh phase economically, and the prices are fluctuating. There's an increase, inflation, and well, we would like to see that there would be a bright light at the end of the tunnel. Our guest is going to be very honest with describing exactly what is happening today in the Egyptian economy, and he's also going to be shedding more light on means of how we can try to overcome this problem, and definitely if there is proper management and everybody works on together to accommodate the problem and manage the crisis accurately, we will definitely get to a better development economically in Egypt. And we're very much delighted to have joining us in this interview Dr. Mustafa Ibrahim, who's an economic expert.
Meanwhile, with the trade in Egyptian treasury bills gaining ground, the witnessed drop in T-bill yields at auctions in an indication of the increasing foreign investor participation and is providing support to the USD EGP trade with a better one, according to Bank of America Merrill Lynch's February Insight report. The report cites the unofficial announcement that the Central Bank of Egypt, CBE, cleared the backlog of investors seeking to repatriate funds, which was the main driver behind abolishing a source of downside risk near term, adding that the CBE continues to accumulate foreign currency reserves, and the 2003 devaluation episode suggests the non-oil trade deficit could narrow because of increased competitiveness. The CBA said in a press statement last week the foreign investments in T-bills amounted to almost EGP 11.5 billion in January, excluding the value of the consumed bills. The relatively flat T-bill curve shape and the external funding profile impelled by the IMF program, fully funded for the first year but much tighter afterwards, argue for short-dated T-bill exposure. IMF Managing Director Christine Lagarde said on Monday that Egypt is making good progress in its $12 billion loan program with the International Monetary Fund, and its currency may be stabilizing after plunging to record lows. In November, Cairo agreed the 3-year loan deal with IMF, which involved tough economic reforms such as cutting its budget deficit and floating the Egyptian pound. The currency plunged as low as around 19.50 to the US dollar in subsequent weeks. Financial markets are closely watching how the government keeps to the terms of the deal, which will determine whether it receives loan installments on schedule. Lagarde said IMF expects to complete its first review of the program around June this year. The pound has rebounded in recent days as foreign investor confidence has strengthened and backlogs of US dollar orders to finance imports have diminished. It was quoted among banks at around 16.5 on Wednesday.
Dr. Mustafa Ibrahim, an economic expert, would like to thank you very much for joining us on our weekly program on the hot seat.
Thanks for having me today.
Doctor, would you like to first tell us about how do you evaluate the current economic status in Egypt generally, with the increase of prices and the fluctuation of the currency and as well as inflation? I mean, there's a lot going on the Egyptian economy. How do you generally describe that?
As you have mentioned, which is very true, the Egyptian economy was there for the last 20, 50 years. But last few years has a lot of impact on our life, on the social, on the whole society, on everyone's life. Especially last couple of years, and again, last couple of months wasn't very generous to the society and the people. And it became a lot of pressure because of the economy. Everyone is suffering, everyone is complaining, everyone going through a very tough time as we speak now. How long it will last? How long we should hold hands together to go through this very hard period? It all depends on how we are going to manage the last few months or the last couple of years. It's very hard to predict what will happen in the very near future because a lot of elements, we don't know a lot of elements. Still means the government doesn't give us a lot of information. It works with us as the same old saying, need to know basis. We need, for any economist to forecast or to put a prediction for the future, he needed a lot of information a lot of, at least we know the policy. We need to know the commitment with MFI. All of these elements are not available to us or to most of the people who can at least analyze what's happening and give you a clear vision about the future. Still, it's very unclear. Still, we are going through a very tough time. There was a declaration today from the Minister of Finance saying that we haven't reached the ceiling of the inflation as yet, which it's not a very good news. It's not a sharing news. It's again, everyone expects more higher prices, more pressure, and more suffering. We hope, as we speak now, that we are on the right track. Maybe the decisions which was made just recently wouldn't 100% right. Maybe the decision itself is right. But again, everyone is debating about the timing, about the outcome, how they measure it before they took this stage. Whether it was better to take it when the dollar was 12 pounds or 9 pounds or 18 pounds. It's very hard to come to a conclusion because it's too late.
Yes. Doctor, when we speak about a crisis, having a proper management to deal with the crisis could actually be the key word to the solution of the problem. Do you think that we in Egypt, the central bank, the government, investors, everybody who's contributing his part in this vicious circle that we seem to be in, do you think that they are handling the crisis with proper management? If not, why are they doing that? And how do you suggest we can have better management?
Look, what we are seeing as we speak now is that we have a lot of different islands. They don't synchronize effort together. They don't speak to each other, the ministers themselves. And that's why we saw the outcome of this floating. Take an example, we are talking today about the subsidy for the food subsidy, and now the increase in price on a daily basis as we speak. The second problem was about the medicine. And we saw how vital is that, and this file still is not handling in a correct way, and the outcome is not satisfactory to anyone in the society. And if you take these two as an example, how they were prepared for the floating, you see that was a disaster. I hope that in the near future, or after the reshuffle of the new cabinet, we'll see more effort to be synchronized, more communication with the ministers, because by the end of the day we have the prime minister, which should be the head of the orchestra. He doesn't have a file. He doesn't have. He synchronized with all of them. And if there is a debate or there is a misunderstanding or there is a different opinion about certain file, he has the right to have his final say. I think this should be implemented very soon. Last few months we saw a lot of problems. Maybe it's not declared, but we can see as a business community that there was different opinion in certain vital files, and it wasn't handled to the right way or a satisfactory way, let's put it like that. And that was the side effect of the floating.
Yes. Now, Doctor, if we're going to speak about the consequences of the decision of floating the Egyptian pound that took place at 4 months now, and then the inflation rate, definitely when you have a plan or a vision or a strategy, it could go right and it could go wrong. And in case it does go wrong, there should be a plan B. Do you think that the government was ready for that plan B, or are they still experiencing this for the first time, so they're trying all the ways, or they're trying to lead all the doors?
If you want my fair assessment, I think they didn't have a full conclusion of Plan B. Plan B wasn't even ready to talk about Plan A, sorry. So to talk about Plan B. Plan A wasn't ready 100%. So talking about Plan B, I think it's premature, and I think no.
Yeah.
My opinion. From what I'm saying, I don't believe there is a Plan B.
Yes, but There's definitely a positive aspect at the end of the road in terms of the Egyptian economy's development and improvement, but it's rather a long-term vision. I mean, the mega projects that are being made, the ones that will be made, the Golden Triangle, for instance, factories that are being established to be able to secure the economy better, maybe basically to try to decrease the number of imports for goods or services or subsidies or whatever they are that are causing this rather very increase in price, because we are now very much dependent on the foreign currency or US dollar in particular. Do you think that there's the suffering now, but definitely on the long run with the establishment of these projects that Egypt will be somewhere else? Because that's what all the international reports are saying.
Look, definitely you are right. The near future will be much brighter than now. What we are talking about, we are taking now a snapshot, and we are talking about the snapshot. If you are talking about the future, yes, definitely it will be much better. It still means the dollar or the exchange rate is not fair to the Egyptian pound. I think the exchange rate as we speak, which is about 17.5 pounds, it's overvalued when it comes to the dollar. We need to see the fair price. The fair price for the Egyptian pound is between 12 and 13 pounds. We should see these prices within the next few months. It depends on certain aspects.
Yeah, but how do you see the prices? Who can control the prices? As you said, they're changing on daily basis. If I would go to one store and another one that's next door, they are not entitled to be selling the same goods with the same prices. And even if the government says complain and we will interfere, who are you going to complain to, and what are you going to interfere with? It's happening all over the country.
Look, with a free economy, you cannot control the price as such as previously. But what we are seeing on the ground, it's again it's the outcome of the policy. A lot of people will sell the product based on assumption, not cost. That's a very delicate difference, because one means the price is steady. The dollar is steady. All my elements are steady. I know that it costs me 100 pounds. I'm going to sell it for 120. But if I don't know what will happen tomorrow with the dollars, and what will happen with the customs, and what will happen with the deliveries, and all of these unknown elements or out of control elements, so you sell your price based on assumption. I'm assuming that I'm going to replace this cost with $20 per dollar, 20 pounds per dollar. So we move from the cost based prices to assumption-based prices, which is, it's not the right way, but this is the only way a lot of business people would use it to make, and that's why you find a lot of variation in different stores for the same product, and that's why, as we speak now, you should shop around a lot before you buy any product.
Yeah, but I mean, this decision of floating the Egyptian pounds and then the prices that are being fluctuating, a lot of reports have also expressed their concern about the possible increase of poverty rate further in Egypt, because the average household or the GDP of what a family was able to cope with financially does not abide anymore. And mind you that while everything is increasing, the salaries and the income, whether maybe in the private sectors, most companies have tried to be a little bit lenient by increasing the prices, the salaries to a certain percentage, but definitely the public sector, which contributes a large million of, can't do anything, because at the end of the day they're broke. Let's keep it as frank as that. So what do you think should be happening as a solution, temporarily helping these people to lift this burden a little bit?
Look, as you know, our agreement with IMF still there is a lot of elements which should be implemented, and will put a lot of pressure on the economy and the people. Like, you have to reduce the subsidy or lift the subsidy for electricity, for energy, for a lot of food or food subsidy. This will put a lot of pressure on this layer of the society. They will not be able to cope unless you have to prepare a good package generating in a lot of subsidy, or a net of cover for them. That was one of the elements required. It hasn't been done yet. It should be done very soon. This is one of the main requirements from the international lenders, because if you don't do that, you will have a lot of problem on the ground. People cannot survive with these prices with their very small income. And not only that, even the middle layer is under a lot of pressure now, and some of them are moving into the poverty
Yeah,
line.
I mean, whenever I speak to an economic expert and they mention the middle class, and then I'll always be concerned with asking, do we actually have we ever had middle class in Egypt? And the question was, no. Well, wasn't that a trigger to the problem of where we are now, just years back? I just don't understand how can there be a healthy economic in a society with no middle class.
No, you cannot take me the society, Egyptian society, and try to compare it with others. We have our unique mean situation. We have two layers of poverty line. We have two layers of middle class and two layers of rich people. Everyone is totally different. Like, let's talk about the middle class. You find there is a middle. How do you classify? First of all, like at once I asked one of my friends, how do you classify a rich person in Egypt? Like, how much do you need to have to be classified as rich? Like, I used to live overseas. If you have $1 million, you are rich. And at one stage when I came back from overseas and stayed, and I moved to Egypt, 1 million used to be 5 million pounds. You cannot mean during this few months, a few years ago, you couldn't reach or you couldn't buy a nice villa for 5 million. So you are talking about prices and people with mega income. So I don't know how you classified even the layers. Who is in between? If you are going to talk about the middle class, how much you mean to start to be classified, and when you stop and move into a rich layer? I don't know.
Maybe, do you think that, the living standard that you live in, the quality of education that you're taking, the quality of health services that you're providing, simple things like your car, how much do you spend per month, per week? I mean, all these are indicators, definitely.
All, if not most, if not all of the middle class layers are sending me their kids to private school. This is not a privilege. It's not
which take 3/4 of your income, by the way.
More than 3/4 actually. In some cases, you have to go and borrow money to cover to make ends meet. Now we are talking about a lot of pressure. After the floating, even the new school or the new fees are almost doubled. And this has put a lot of pressure on. I saw a lot of young couples, middle class, working in very nice jobs, cannot cope with this increase in the fees. Most of them also have credit card, have car loans or home loans, with increased reforming points or percent on their lending, put a lot of pressure on them. So at one stage, these layers will suffer and will be reduced, and they have to make a lot of decisions, very hard decisions, especially when it comes to their kids. I saw a lot of them I'm struggling to find solution, but as we speak, I don't have a lot.
As an economic expert, doctor, what are the proper, accurate economic steps that needs to be taken today to not avoid the consequences, which could be bad, but to at least reduce it to the minimum?
No, let's talk. You spoke about mega project before. I don't think this is, of course, a mega project will be good for the society, it'll employ a lot of people, and so on. But we have to talk about priorities. Let's assume that you have 1 million or 1 billion pounds. Instead of spending it on a mega project like Galala or something like that, why don't you spend it on good middle class schools? Instead of you paying 50, 60,000 pounds for your kid, you pay 20,000.
So are you saying that the educational process is not taking much of the concern in terms of budget and projects?
Like, if you are talking about as a society, even a society or whatever means financing this mega project, want to have a good and quick income, why don't they spend this money or invest in education and health? You have, again, you have two layers or two categories of hospital. One is the government one, which is out of date and you cannot get any decent service there. And the other one, it's a private one, it's way overpriced. So why don't you create a middle class service? for education, for health, and so on. That will be a quick solution, a relief solution for this middle class. Because if you relieve them from these fees for the school, that will be a big advantage for them.
Yes.
And it will be the right decision to be taken. I don't think the mega project will generate the same impact on the society. I don't think not me only, if you talk to a lot of people who will have the same vision. Because if you have a limited resources, you have to use it the best for the society.
Yes,
not
definitely.
the best from your own your point of view, because sometimes you have to change your priorities because you have unexpected situation.
Yes.
It's the same with your family on a family level. If you have a problem, you sit down with your husband and you have to change your priorities. You are not going to summer holidays. You are not going to buy this. You are not going to change your car. This is no problem in doing
Yes.
that. Actually, this is what needed to be done.
I mean, with all this kind of rather a pessimistic picture, there's definitely a light at the end of the tunnel. So, where do you see Egypt, in a couple of months' time, possibly in a short period of time from now? And let's take a little bit of a optimistic picture of it.
We have been going through this tunnel for the last 7,000 years. There is always a light at the end of the tunnel. There is two types of pain. A pain because of illness and pain because of the recovery. What we are going through is a pain of recovery. It might be because of some issue and some decision might not be the best decision or timing. It might take a little bit longer. We might suffer a little bit more. But by the end of the day, yes, we are on the right track. Yes, we are going through a pain of recovery, and definitely we'll see different Egypt within the next couple of years. I'm sure of that, and I'm promising you that you will see different Egypt within the next few years, no doubt about that.
Dr. Mustafa Ibrahim, economic expert, would like to thank you very much for joining us on our program, The Hot Seat.